Been driving all along, feel like I'm dreaming. Okay.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Street Apologist Live. I'm your host, Vocab Malone. Want to make sure that you can see me. Please make sure, if you like this content, to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell, leave a comment, and share this link. Today, we are talking about Peter Moses, a man who over a decade ago committed some horrible, absolutely horrible acts. We are going to discuss that today. It's going to be a little hard to handle. This is not an easy program. I've never fully covered this issue, though. But what happened is recently Investigation Discovery dropped a new one of those true crime TV shows in December of 2022. Popped up on my radar, and they did a whole program on this guy, pictured on your screen here, Peter Moses, who, yes, was a Hebrew Israelite. Yes, he was a cult leader. He basically ran it out of his house. Yes, he had, I think, 5 wives. So, yes, he was a polygamist. And, yes, he ended up being a killer. A 4-year-old and one of his wives. And I'm going to play some clips, and hopefully this show stays up. Now, I'm not playing clips from the newest program that just came out because I think that'll get this video taken off. So I'm playing clips from an older rendition of another true crime program that covered Peter Moses. Does that make sense? I'm covering it because of the which you can watch if you have Discovery Plus. I'm covering it because of that. It's called Twisted Prophet under Shattered Hearts, I think is the name of the series. I'm covering it because that dropped, but I'm not playing those clips. I don't want to take the chance with this. So I'm playing clips from another one. We're going to start about halfway through the program. And I hope that makes sense. And I want to start off, as I didn't finish my thought on there, I want to start off by saying that there is a rumor on the internet that Peter Moses was a member of Great Millstone, the GMS camp, Great Millstone Hebrew Israelites. And let me tell you something, it's propagated by Hebrew Israelites who don't like GMS. Now, you already know that we don't like most elements of Hebrew Israelism, but we don't believe in lying to accomplish goals. So here's what I want to say. For a long time, a lot of the Christian apologists have said Peter Moses used to be a member of Great Millstone. Well, I got to tell you, we were getting our information from former Hebrew Israelites, or also current Hebrew Israelites. That's where we got our information from. It's not like it was from the news. Well, it appears that information is incorrect. There is no evidence that Peter Moses was ever in GMS. There is evidence that he was a long-distance student. But GMS actually rebuked him because they didn't like the fact that he danced on camera. I guess he would dance and stuff like that. So they rebuked him. And he was not in a camp. He was not known to be in a camp. He did not have like GMS followers who knew about him. Now, he followed GMS people, but you can't help who follows you. So I just want to get that out there. Now we're going to cover this. And some tragic stuff here. Shout out to Juan Garcia. How you doing? Glad you're in. And let's just go ahead and get this started. I'm going to play this first clip here. And it's going to start in the middle of the program.
One of the detectives who searched the home begins to have second thoughts.
Did it seem weird to you in there with those kids? They were quiet. They were still. They just don't act like any kids I've ever...
My oldest son, Jaden, he sometimes stays with his babysitter.
Okay, so let me give a little bit of a breakdown of what's happening here. Peter Moses is a Hebrew Israelite. He's now behind bars because of the crimes he committed. And what happened is that he married a bunch of women, but he didn't really marry them, but he said he had 5 wives. And so a number of things happened. There's a whole prelude to this. And detectives go to the house because one of the wives says, hey, there's some funny business going on there, right? And they investigate, and they do notice some strange things. And so they look more into it. Man, I got stuff on the microphone. You notice that? I want to fix that. They look more into it, and they find that there's supposed to be one more kid than is listed than they saw in the house. And so now they're asking questions. The women they are asking questions to are actually Peter Moses's said wives. And at this point in the broadcast, nothing has come in to the show about Hebrew Israelism. It hasn't even been mentioned yet, okay? But it's going to be mentioned. The program, someone is asking, what show is this? The name of this show is Fatal Attraction, and it's called Killer Cult TV One series. This is season 4, episode 19, Fatal Attraction, Killer Cult. And we will see if this gets removed. It may get removed. Well, no, this is a different program I'm playing. There's another show by Investigation Discovery. That's not the one we're playing. That's Shattered Hearts, Twisted Prophet. That's the one that just dropped. So Peter Moses actually has 4 different true crime documentaries about him that I've been able to find. And so here's this one. And again, I hope this gets stayed up. This should be covered under fair use, but you know how these companies are.
You have a phone number you can give us?
Of course.
So I'm going to turn this down a little bit. So, I might skip through this. And you just get the idea what's going on, you know, these reenactments and all that. And showing he was not in any of these camps. He was sort of a lone ranger. It does seem that the main group that he watched on YouTube was GMS, but he was not in a GMS camp, unless I received some kind of irrefutable information to the contrary, because that's the rumor on the internet, but it's not true. And I know that this is old, but it's popping back up because there's a new show about this. So you're getting an idea. So this is where in 2010. So, you know, this isn't something where people like really knew a lot about this, you know, and this is the part where they really discover and they really bring this up.
Some are more extreme.
Some Black Hebrew Israelites believe that pretty soon there's going to be a race war, and the African Americans are basically going to be the supreme race over all other races.
Now, you know, I understand they get who they get for these programs, but it's kind of obvious, you know, this lady probably just read the Wikipedia entry. I don't really understand the folks that they have, the talking heads to talk about Hebrew Israelism. There's so many better options than these folks who have read the Wikipedia entry only, you know? Can someone look up for me when the Fatal Attraction series came out on the TV One joint? Can someone look that up for me? Because everyone's asking what this particular program is. Can someone do that for me? And then let me continue playing this, and then we'll find out, because there's a number that have dropped, and there's a new one, but I'm not playing the new one. I'm playing a newer one, but not the brand new one.
According to these women, their husband, who they refer to as Lord, not only believed in the coming race war, but also polygamy, which put him at the very extreme end of the Black Hebrew Israelites' belief system.
Okay, so she's saying that. She's saying it puts them at the extreme end, but one of the most mainstream groups out there, the African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem. I mean, before Whitney Houston died, her and Bobby Brown took a spiritual journey to visit Ben Ami in Dimona, Israel. A number of academics have covered them. They have a vegan soul food restaurant that's all over the world, really. You know, the U.S., Israel, whatever. There's like 5,000 of them that live in Israel. Do you see what I'm saying? They're polygamist. They're polygamist vegans. One's obviously better than the other, but are they considered extremists? I don't know. Thank you. Shout out to D New. Says this dropped in 2013. Atlanta since 82. I like how you tell everything about yourself. We just need a picture of you. See how Atlanta you look. It says that this dropped June 3rd, 2013. So let me reiterate. Everyone's kind of getting confused here. Listen. Yeah, but you got the exact date, Atlanta, so you're good. Listen, let me explain this, people. The brand new documentary that dropped is in December, and it's on Investigation Discovery. Someone put that information up too. The one I'm playing is not the brand new one, because the brand new one is not on YouTube yet. This is the last time I'm going to explain this. The brand new one's not on YouTube, and I'm concerned that if I put it, it was definitely going to get taken down because it just came out. Okay, that's how they are. This one has been up on YouTube a while, so I'm hoping they allow some interaction with it. So I'm using an old broadcast because the new broadcast had dropped, but I don't want to play that new one. Understand? Let me not talk about that anymore. Don't ask me any more of those questions.
Where's your husband now?
This is one of the most janky parts of this joint. Watch what they ask when they ask about the husband. Peter Moses is the husband, who's a Hebrew Israelite cult leader. Watch this.
Working? Where is he?
He's out on the air, and our Lord doesn't work.
The women refer to him as my Lord.
Women would go out and earn money and bring it back and give it to him.
ISUPK is still known to do that, by the way. And the song that I made, Party in the UPK, I made a line to that, okay? They're one of the camps that are known to do that. Now, you can't get away with that in IUIC. They don't play that. They want the man to work, more traditional structure. UPK, some of the GMS groups. Now, again, Peter Moses is not in GMS. No, I don't think it's on Paramount Plus. It's on Discovery Plus. Discovery Plus. Everyone, Discovery Plus. That's where you can find not the one I'm playing, but the one I'm talking about. Discovery Plus.
Also have social support through welfare and stuff like that.
It is clear that this family.
I was just listening to a show today, and the former wife of a Hebrew Israelite claims that when they were going to have a baby on the way, the Hebrew Israelite male said, "Don't put on the father. That way you can collect welfare." I can't verify that, but that's a common thing we've actually heard with some of these camps. Now, again, Peter Moses was not in a camp. Copy?
They have some religious beliefs that are outside of the mainstream. Does it mean that they're capable of murdering a...
With their suspicion.
Well, you probably already know where this is going. This happened in Durham, North Carolina. And there are some videos of Peter Moses actually teaching. Now, there was 200 of them one time online on his YouTube channel, but they all got taken down. Now, we don't get to cover everything that we want, okay? And then if we don't get to do that, then I'll do this again. What the heck is wrong with these comments? Hey, mods, because of the sensitive nature of this issue, I want to be a little hard. Time people out. Don't show any mercy today because this is a serious program. No mercy, mods. So you in the live chat better be on your best behavior. This is a serious program. I don't want no shenanigans. Things go, Atlanta Sense 82 says, I found an article about this. Hey, drop the article title. You won't be able to drop the link because you're not a mod, but drop the article title and everyone can check it out, There's a lot of articles about this. If you put in Peter Moses or Peter Moses Jr. or Peter Lucas Moses, you'll find a lot of articles about this. And I've never really talked about it. I think when I did, I gave incorrect information. I said that he was once a member of GMS because that was what I was told by Hebrew Israelites. So I was mistaken because I was listening to their information. Since then, I've talked to GMS and looked into some other things, and I have no evidence that he was in GMS. So you get the real here. We're not trying to smear GMS. We're saying what's what. He was a Hebrew Israelite. He did lead a cult. He did kill a woman and a child. You're going to find out here, but not a member of GMS. The sibling of the wife who was murdered by Peter Moses. Actually, he led one of his other wives to do it, but he was the one in charge.
This is just
Now, someone just disliked this program. I guess we got a Hebrew Israelite watching who doesn't like the fact that I'm covering it, and I guarantee you we're going to get a Hebrew Israelite in the comment sections who's going to say, what about all the Christian killers?
Lord could be Peter Moses.
Could Antoinetta have escaped and taken Jaden with her in order to...
So they're hoping maybe Antoinetta, maybe she escaped, and that's why they don't see her. Maybe that's why they don't see Jaden. Maybe they escaped out of this. And, they got to explore all possibilities, but it's going to turn out, of course, that wasn't it. Now, remember, these are actors. So this actor man is not Peter Moses. You're going to see these are not the wives. Okay, I'm just trying to let people understand that. Peter Moses, you can look him up. He's on the cover. It's a blurry picture, but he's on the cover of this thumbnail.
Protect him.
Yeah.
So they had to call him Lord, and they would actually refer to him as Lord because they were in the habit of it to the detectives. Oh, okay, 2011? I thought it was 2010. I don't know. I'll have to look into this, but between 2010 and 2011. So check it out. No, the murder happened in 2010. I think he was arrested in 2011. You need to recheck that. Shout out to Jim Green. Everyone subscribe to his channel. Shout out to Dinu, the star of the Cultist podcast. Make sure you see her interview there and her article at Apologia. Okay, so they even would put on their cell phone, Lord. So, imagine if I'm calling you and it says cab and it's got my face like that, right? Instead on theirs it says Lord and it's Peter Moses. So Jaden was, I think, the only child that was not Peter's. I'm not sure on this, but I know Jaden was not Peter's blood child, but it was one of the women that he was married to. And apparently the child's father had come out of the closet. And so there was a suspicion on this 4-year-old child about that. And so that's what he's talking about here. Now, Antoinetta, she had a strong Bible background. So she saw spirituality in Peter and was impressed by his YouTube teachings. And so, sometimes you guys wonder, why do we deal with some of these small guys and these little guys and who would follow them? Peter Moses wasn't the most popular Hebrew Israelite teacher on the internet, but he was influential enough during his time when he came out in 2008 or so, 2009, and a lot of people back then remember it, that he was able to amass 5 wives from it. 5 wives from it. And then they take care of him, and they're willing to put up with this polygamy stuff. Do you see what I'm saying? This is wild. Yeah, see, D knew it's 2010 when the murders happened. So she was murdered in December 2010, but the 4-year-old was murdered earlier in 2010. You see, and it's 2011 when they figured it out. So this is really wild. And this is one of the dangers we see of polygamy, right? Now, I know they're going to call it polygyny, but either way, it's plural marriage. Polygyny is a form of polygamy, by the way. So it's still accurate. It's in the category. The one gal seems to be so sweet and have such a great heart. She is showing extra affection and attention to the 4-year-old because he's neglected by his mother and especially by Peter. And that extra affection is what is going to end up leading to her death as well. So it's just horrible.
She didn't have the courage to love her child, but my sister did.
Antoinette was somewhat being cast out of their fellowship, if you will.
Tanya says that in early November, Antoinetta went to visit her family. When she returned a few days later, young Jaden was nowhere to be found.
So Antoinetta was not there when the murder of Jaden happened. She found out about it later, and that's when she freaked out. She was the one who came running out of the house. Remember, this is all centered on Hebrew Israelism. This dude met Antoinetta in high school. They connected on a spiritual level, and then later on, he's like, hey, come down to Durham, leave D.C. She was willing to do it. She does it, and this is part of the danger. And we've heard of similar stories with the Hebrew Israelite stuff where these guys amass these wives, and there's clearly abusive situations going on, and even, yes, with children. Now, I know people are going to be like, oh, you're painting I'm just talking about this particular story, but the thing is we've seen other things like this have happened, and the religion is fairly new, so that's significant.
It was as if he'd been erased from the family.
She was giving conflicting stories about what happened to him.
According to Tanya, a few weeks later, Antoinetta learned the horrible truth.
She overheard one of the women speaking about his death. That's how she found out that Jaden was ultimately killed.
I'm just so glad it wasn't me, that Peter was able to kill him, because I don't think I could.
She really, really lost it.
So that's like the type of thing they were saying. Like, I wouldn't have been able to kill Jaden. I see people in the live chat. This doesn't have anything to do with being an Israelite. Why did he think it was okay to have all these women? Why did he think, because of this idea of practicing some form of Old Testament punishments, why did he think that this was the thing he was supposed to do? Why did he have the women call him Lord? It all has to do with the Hebrew Israelite view of the Old Testament. So don't tell me it doesn't have nothing to do with being an Israelite. I know all Hebrew Israelites aren't like this. Of course they're not. But you can't act like it's not tied in directly to his beliefs. Of course it is. That's the whole reason the women were there.
That point.
And why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you call the police?
Because I was afraid they would kill me too.
Tanya explains to investigators how Antoinetta was brutally beaten and ultimately shot to death that night in December.
I'll tell you something crazy. I think it's in this program. When he blasted Antoinetta, you know what he did? He played the Lord's Prayer or whatever. Or was it Psalm 23? Dang it, now I forgot. I think it's the Lord's Prayer, but I think it was in Lashawan Quadash. That's my understanding of how it was done. So remember, he had 5 wives, but now he's murdered one, and one is telling. So that's why it's 3 wives now, you see. Imagine having so many wives that you can lose 2 and still have 3. Now, what we need to do with these haters coming into the live chat is time them out, and if they don't learn their lesson, then just go ahead and block them. Because I don't want to play around on this program. And I really don't have time for people making excuses for this behavior, because that's some of what I'm getting. So Peter Moses is a Hebrew Israelite, not a member of GMS or any camp that we know of, but he did watch and follow GMS. But that's not necessarily their fault. They wouldn't, they don't want their camp members to do stuff like this. At least not yet.
8 children.
Detectives had reason to believe that Peter and his 3 wives may be responsible for the disappearance and alleged murders of 28-year-old Antoinetta McCoy.
So that's actually her right there. That's Antoinetta. That's the wife who was murdered, who was barren, and so she was taking care of Jaden, even though she wasn't the bio mother. She was the one who really was just into scripture, you know.
And 4-year-old Jaden Higginbotham. But when they executed the search warrant on the home, everyone was gone.
So, they know what's coming, right? So it's really just buying time at this point. Now, this show may get taken down because of, playing clips. And sometimes even if it is fair use, they don't like that. So save this if you can. If not, I'll put it on my other channels. My other channels, not just my other YouTube channel, but my other channels on other platforms, Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey, they are now in the description box of the video. It's a little messy. I got to clean up, but all the links are there now.
Well, one
get mad at this. Christian women, if you're interested in a man who's even halfway, a quarter of a way, 0.1% of a way into Hebrew Israelism, put on your roller skates and go on down the street with your headphones on and don't look back like Rosie Perez at the end of White Man Can't Jump. Because you don't know where it's going to lead. Am I going to say everyone's going to get murdered? No. But you might be wife number 1. And eventually that might make you wife number 2. You see what I'm saying about that? Don't do it. It's not worth it. Find another spiritual guy or stay single. Read those Amish romance novels if you have to. I mean, for real.
The whole family is having dinner, and that's when Peter drops the bomb on her. He tells her, these are not my aunts. These are not my cousins. They're actually my wives and my children.
So now they're reading the diaries and they're going back. That's how they know this information. By the way, check out John Red. Worry about your own community. What kind of person who cares about their community would say that? Like that, it's just a silly. There's a dead child. Do you live in Durham, North Carolina? Because I don't even think you can say your own community if not. Or do you consider Peter Moses part of your community? Well, how are you going to judge him? Just beautiful. She was sick. What the fuck?
Even though in this particular situation, Peter had other wives, she could be his wife. And that's something that she wanted, and they actually went through a complete ceremony.
Though Antoinetta's journal details a few fleeting moments of happiness with the family's children, particularly young Jaden, it also reveals tremendous suffering at the hands of a sexual predator.
They were forced to sleep with each other and sleep with him as many times as he wanted.
You do not have to be highly intelligent or educated to control someone's mind. You have to give them what they want.
That was actually one of the most insightful sentences in this program. I'm going to rewind that. Sometimes I get annoyed when they're interviewing therapists about true crime. You know, now this is a psychologist, not one of the therapists. But Dr. Carol Bunch, it was such an excellent, simple, basic point, and it explains so much about a lot of these guys. You don't have to be highly intelligent, whatever. You just have to give that person what they want. So if you figure out what that person wants and you give it to them, you become like a drug dealer, really. Because whatever is their fix, you're providing, you see?
As many times as he wanted.
You do not have to be highly intelligent or educated to control someone's mind. You have to give them what they want.
Alton Johnson, I never thought about that. Yeah, since he forced the ladies to be with each other, he's pushing what he ends up murdering the 4-year-old for. I didn't even really think about that obvious fact. Such a simple, clean, obvious point. Whoa. Subscribe to Alton Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, for more of that.
And for humans need praise. If you give them what they need, you can begin to control their mind. And by doing that, you're controlling their behavior.
Peter was very selective with the women he invited to live with him. They all had self-esteem issues, and he knew how to manipulate and exploit that.
Antoinette, because she...
I'm going to go ahead and skip some of this here. Let's just go to the next one. This is part 13. That's a little piece.
Antoinetta blamed herself.
She really did think it was her fault.
Wouldn't leave that behind.
Convinced me that, Jane was gone.
Durham descends on the family's new home. They arrest...
That's his real picture. That's a much higher res picture than the one I got. Well, I need to do better. That's the same picture, but that one's way better. I mean, that's not the greatest picture, but I'm saying... Oh, the stream is over. Suspended for policy violations. Knew this was going to happen. Well, is that